Hey everyone, welcome back to a brand new episode of the podcast. And seriously, thank you for being here. If you've been following this series from the beginning, you already know this book keeps getting deeper and deeper with every chapter. So before we start, don't forget to subscribe, turn on notifications, and check out the previous episodes too, because every part connects together like one long journey of transformation. Today's episode covers one of the biggest sections of the book so far. Pages 200 to 400. And honestly, this is where becoming supernatural starts shifting from theory into practice. Joe Dispenza begins explaining how meditation changes the brain, why elevated emotions matter, what energy really means in his philosophy, and how people may actually train themselves to become someone completely new. So let's dive in. Your brain is always rewiring itself. One of the biggest ideas in this section is neuroplasticity. Joe explains that the brain is not fixed. Your personality is not permanent. Your habits are not permanent. Even emotional patterns are not permanent. According to him, every thought you repeatedly think creates neural pathways in the brain. Meaning, the more you think a certain way, the stronger those mental circuits become. That's why habits feel automatic, because your brain has practiced them thousands of times. But here's the hopeful part. If the brain can learn unhealthy patterns, it can also learn new ones, and this becomes the foundation of transformation in the book. Why most people stay the same. Joe says most people wake up every day and become the exact same person. Same thoughts, same emotions, same routine, same reactions. And because they think the same way every day, they keep creating the same reality. He compares it to living on autopilot. People believe they're making conscious choices, but in reality, their body and subconscious programs are controlling most of their lives. And honestly, this is one of the scariest ideas in the book. What if most of our personality is just repetition? The power of elevated emotions. This part of the book focuses heavily on emotions, but not just negative emotions. Joe begins talking about what he calls elevated emotions. Emotions like gratitude, love, freedom, joy, inspiration, compassion. According to him, these emotions create completely different chemical states inside the body. And this is important because he believes the body responds not only to thoughts, but even more strongly to emotions. In other words, thoughts are the language of the brain, emotions are the language of the body. And if you want to create a new future, you can't just think differently. You also have to feel differently. The quantum field. Now this is where the book starts getting really deep. And honestly, a little controversial too. Joe Dispenza begins talking about what he calls the quantum field. According to him, beyond the physical world exists a field of infinite possibilities, a place beyond space and time. And he believes that when people enter deep meditation and stop focusing on their body, their environment, and time itself, they can connect to this field. Now whether someone agrees with this scientifically or not, the psychological message underneath is powerful. You are not limited to your current identity. Your future is not fixed. And transformation begins the moment you stop emotionally identifying with your past. Meditation becomes the main tool. By this point in the book, meditation becomes central to everything. But Joe doesn't describe meditation as simply relaxing. He describes it as mental rehearsal, training, reprogramming. He says when people meditate correctly, they can slow brainwaves, access the subconscious mind, observe unconscious habits, can emotionally rehearse a new future. This is such an important idea in the book. Your brain changes when you repeatedly experience something internally. Meaning, if you repeatedly imagine a new future emotionally and mentally, your brain begins preparing for it before it physically happens. The body must believe the future is happening now. Joe repeatedly says something fascinating. The body doesn't know the difference between an actual experience and a vividly imagined one. So if someone emotionally experiences gratitude, freedom, or joy during meditation, the body begins responding as if the future event has already happened. And according to him, this is how people begin changing their biology. Again, some people love these ideas, some people criticize them. But the emotional message is clear. If your emotions constantly come from the past, your future will look like the past. But if you can emotionally experience a new future before it arrives, you begin changing internally first, breaking emotional addiction. This section also returns to the idea of emotional addiction. Joe explains that many people unconsciously depend on familiar emotional states. Asterisk stress. Asterisk anger. Asterisk guilt. Asterisk sadness. Frustration. Because the body has practiced those emotions for years. So when someone tries to change, the body resists. Why? Because the old emotional state feels familiar. This is why real transformation feels uncomfortable. Because becoming someone new means emotionally leaving behind the person you've been for years, the heart and brain connection. One really interesting part of this section is Joe's focus on heart coherence. He says when people experience elevated emotions like gratitude and love, the heart and brain begin working in harmony, and according to him, this creates a more balanced and powerful internal state. The idea here is that healing and transformation happen faster when the mind and emotions become aligned. Instead of thinking one thing and emotionally feeling another, becoming the creator of your life. As this section continues, the book shifts from victim mentality to personal responsibility. Joe basically says, most people wait for life to change before they change emotionally. But transformed people do the opposite. They change internally first. They practice the emotions of their future before external proof appears. And according to the book, this is how people begin creating a completely different reality. Not through wishing, not through hoping, but through repeated mental and emotional practice. Final thoughts. So in today's episode, we covered one of the biggest turning points in becoming supernatural. Asterisk, the brain can rewire itself. Asterisk, most people live unconsciously through repetition. Asterisk, elevated emotions may change the body and mind. Asterisk, meditation becomes a tool for transformation. Asterisk, and creating a new future begins with becoming a new person internally. In the next episode, we'll continue exploring the deeper practices in the book, including advanced meditation, energy centers, emotional healing, and the powerful stories of people who claim to have transformed their lives completely. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe, follow the channel, and share this podcast with someone who's ready to break out of old patterns and become something greater. And remember, your personality creates your personal reality. So if you want a new reality, you may need to become someone new. See you in the next episode.